Shannon Sharpe, once a commanding voice on ESPN and a celebrated Hall of Fame tight end, now finds himself at the center of a media and legal storm that has shifted the course of his broadcasting career. Less than 2 weeks after settling a high-profile $50 million lawsuit that alleged sexual assault and battery, Sharpe's relationship with ESPN has come to an abrupt and unceremonious end. The report, first revealed by The Athletic on July 30, sent ripples through both the sports and entertainment worlds. ESPN has decided to part ways with Sharpe, a figure whose powerful presence on air had brought energy, insight, and unapologetic candor to the network. His exit comes despite a prior public commitment that he would return once NFL training camps got underway for the 2025 season. Sharpe last appeared on ESPN back in April. At the time, the lawsuit had just become public. In the days following, he took a step back, announcing his intention to defend himself against the serious accusations being levied by a woman who filed as Jane Doe in the court documents. The claims were explosive: sexual assault, battery, and emotional distress, all laid out in a legal document that immediately caught the attention of every major news outlet. Sharpe, however, was quick to respond. He didn't go silent. He didn't hide. He called the lawsuit a shakedown. In a series of carefully crafted public statements and through his legal team, he insisted that his relationship with the accuser was 100% consensual. His tone was defiant, his defense was unwavering, and he expressed full confidence that the truth would ultimately clear his name. On July 18, attorney Tony Buzbee, representing Jane Doe, announced that both parties had reached a settlement and that the case would be dismissed. The news of the settlement, while bringing an end to the legal proceedings, opened a floodgate of speculation. No details of the agreement were made public. There was no admission of guilt. No public apology. Just a quiet closure to a loud controversy. The lack of transparency surrounding the settlement did little to quell the storm. For some, the mere fact that a settlement had been reached was enough to cast lingering doubts. For others, it was a signal that both parties had chosen peace over prolonged warfare in the courtroom. But for ESPN, it appears the damage was already done. The network's decision to sever ties comes at a pivotal moment in its ongoing brand recalibration. In an era where public image matters more than ever, and where talent is scrutinized not just for what they say on air but how they conduct themselves off it, ESPN is clearly drawing a line. There will be no comeback arc. No dramatic return in time for the kickoff of the NFL season. For Sharpe, this marks a sharp and unexpected detour in what has been a wildly successful media career post-football. His transition from the field to the studio was one of the most seamless in recent memory. Whether debating Skip Bayless on FS1 or delivering sharp-witted takes on ESPN, Sharpe built a loyal following. He brought both intellect and intensity to the set. He was never afraid to say what others wouldn't. That honesty, raw as it was at times, endeared him to millions. Now, all of that feels precariously close to slipping through his fingers. Public opinion is split. Some fans remain steadfast in their support, pointing out that Sharpe was never criminally charged and that the case was settled without any finding of wrongdoing. Others argue that the optics alone, a sexual assault lawsuit, a hush-hush settlement, and a swift network departure, are damaging enough to justify ESPN's decision. Corporate America doesn't wait for nuance. When brand safety becomes a concern, the response is often swift and final. And in this case, the timing speaks volumes. Just as the NFL world was beginning to turn its eyes toward training camp headlines and preseason speculation, ESPN made its move, ensuring the narrative didn't grow louder when the sports calendar shifted into high gear. Sharpe hasn't spoken publicly since news of ESPN's decision broke. His representatives have declined to comment. The silence, so far, is uncharacteristic for a man who made a career of speaking out. In the days and weeks ahead, questions will linger. Will Sharpe land another broadcasting role? Will he launch his own platform, like so many other high-profile media personalities have done in the wake of controversy? Will he attempt to reshape the public's perception of what happened and why? There's precedent for redemption in the sports media world. Controversial figures have found their way back to prominence. But each story is different. Each return hinges on timing, public appetite, and the individual's willingness to reframe the narrative. Sharpe's situation is complicated. His fame, his legacy, and his voice are now juxtaposed against a backdrop of allegations that, while legally settled, may continue to shadow his professional life. The public doesn't forget easily. And while legal matters may be resolved behind closed doors, reputational battles are often fought in the open, on screens, in headlines, and across social media platforms. There are no clear winners here. ESPN loses a talent. Sharpe loses a platform. The accuser's truth, or version of it, may never be fully known. And fans are left to piece together a puzzle with missing pieces. This saga serves as a reminder of how fragile public trust can be. Of how careers, even those built on decades of achievement, can shift overnight. And of how, in the media landscape, image is not just everything, it's the foundation. Sharpe's journey isn't over. He's too vocal, too visible, too known to simply fade away. But the next chapter will require reinvention, resilience, and perhaps, reckoning. For now, one of sports broadcasting's most familiar voices has gone quiet, and the silence is deafening.